So you had mentioned obviously that there's still that adrenaline rush watching or being there for a regular season game with 70,000 people calling that game, but you don't quite get those nerves or jitters anymore. But what about the Super Bowl and when they throw it to you for a sideline report? Are you able to treat that as just another game, or is it impossible to ignore the fact that there are potentially 100 million people in that moment that could be watching you?
Yeah, I try to treat it that way, and I do now. But initially, and I've done 6 or 7 Super Bowls as the network team reporter for Fox. I was on the sideline, the Chiefs when they won against the 49ers their first time, right, with Mahomes, first one for Andy Reid, with that group, I should say, and also the Brady comeback, which was fascinating. With the Patriots against Atlanta, the only overtime Super Bowl. But the first Super Bowl I did, and I've worked with Pam Oliver and Aaron Andrews sharing sidelines. I remember having done a little bit, some play of this. It was the Eagles and the Patriots, the Super Bowl down in Jacksonville, and Troy Brown, the versatile player. I was going to do a live pre-game hit, 2 questions kind of thing, right before kickoff. We were trying to do that more. Some teams don't like to do that, or players, but we were able to get this done. So Troy Brown comes over, and the producer is in my ear saying, "Hey, we're going to come to you." And so I said, "Troy, I'm just going to ask you a couple of quick questions." I said, "Don't, I know you got a game to play, but don't be thrown off by 100 million people watching." As I'm telling him that, I'm thinking to myself, "God, 100 million. This is more than and it starts to get to me. And the producer's like, "All right, I heard Joe Buck. Let's go down to Chris Myers, one of the special guys." And I kind of froze. And it felt like 2 minutes to me. And I could hear the producer going, "Chris, can you hear us? You're on. You're on." And he's in my ear. And Troy Brown is he's like tapping with his foot. He's like tapping me like below the camera, like, shouldn't we be going? Because we're gonna have to kick off here. And then I'm like, yeah. And I just threw out I don't even know what the question was. And he was cool. He answered it. And then the second question was a little more specific about, taking on the Eagles and the defense or whatever it was. And so, I guess the audience may not have known because of how it went. But after that moment, I'm like, I am never going to think about that kind of how big it is. Do that during the week. So I can only imagine, right, what a player's going through. But in the broadcast, especially, you can't. So in the rest of the game, too, you get that out of your head. It's the job. It's in the moment. And it's not another game, let's be honest. But it is another part of the job that you've done before. So you just apply that and you're a little bit more careful. So, after that, I made sure in any situation, I didn't think of, to me, and that's my corny slogan is every night's the Super Bowl. And it's funny because they even tease me. They're like, "Chris, you always say that." Well, now this is for real. But that way I always would treat every broadcast as important as a big game. And so there I had to kind of level that out a little bit. But funny story. So from that point on, I think I've been able to handle that for the most part.